Hey guys, and welcome to another video on some of the most absurd phonies that have ever been played in Scrabble. In this video, we're going to be starting off with a rather bizarre sequence of events that unfolded in a game played between top players and past North American Scrabble champions Joel Sherman and Conrad Bassett-Bouchard. This game was played at the 2014 North American Championships held in Buffalo, New York, and as you can see, it's still very early in the game. The score is just about even. And on Joel's second turn of the game, he plays the word neice, scoring 30 points next to the I and D in xyloid. And neice is, of course, a common word you might see on a family tree. It means the daughter of a sibling. So you might ask, what's the problem here? Well, alert viewers might notice that Joel has actually misspelled the word neice. He has spelled it N-E-I-C-E, but the correct spelling is N-I-E-C-E. And as Conrad explains in his notes on the right, this caused a pretty strange sequence of events. Immediately after Joel's play, Conrad put him on hold, preventing him from drawing new tiles until Conrad decided whether or not he'd want to challenge the play. Now, Conrad was very suspicious that this word was misspelled, but found it hard to believe that a player of Joel's caliber might misspell such a common word. So Conrad agonized for quite a while about whether he wanted to challenge. And after some time, Conrad mumbled under his breath, "Wow, I can't believe I'm so bad at spelling." And apparently what happened is Joel misheard this comment, and thought Conrad was saying he was accepting the play, so Joel proceeded to draw tiles under the assumption that Conrad had decided not to challenge the play. But this was very much not what Conrad said. Ultimately, a director was called over, and it was ruled that Conrad was not able to challenge the play, so this word did end up staying on the board in rather bizarre fashion. So a pretty tough break for Conrad, and a very controversial decision by the director. However, the good news for Conrad is that he would go on to win this game, and not only this game, but the entire tournament, becoming the 2014 North American Scrabble champion. So while it was certainly frustrating for Conrad to allow such a egregious misspelling as N-E-I-C-E to stay on the board, it was quickly overshadowed by his very exciting victory a couple days later. Now we'll move on to our next example. We have Joey Krafchick against Mark Edward Owens, both very strong players. And in this position, Mark has a bunch of vowels and decides to unload them by playing neice? Wait a minute, didn't we just talk about this? Indeed we did, and once again we see this egregious misspelling of a very common word crop up again in the top level tournament Scrabble game. Mark Edward Owens, just as Joel Sherman in the previous example, plays neice spelled N-E-I-C-E. This time, however, his opponent Joey, who's a top player, did challenge it off the board. So pretty crazy that not only one, but two times have we seen neice misspelled as N-E-I-C-E in a high-level tournament Scrabble game. Now, let's move on to our third example here. We've got two top players battling once again, Lloyd Mills versus Josh Sokol. And the outcome of this game is decided. Josh is up 60 points in the endgame. Lloyd isn't going to be able to score enough points, so Josh is going to be winning the game. But Lloyd does find a play here that scores reasonably well and unloads a bunch of his tiles, and that play was neice! Neice was played N-E-I-C-E for the third time, guys. Yes, that's right. Not first, not second, but third time by a very strong Scrabble expert. And Josh would indeed challenge this off the board. So I hope, if nothing else, this neice saga does make some of the viewers feel a little bit better about the phonies that they may have played or accepted on the board, because once again, that is three very strong players who have played the word neice spelled N-E-I-C-E. So you just never know what you're going to see on a Scrabble board, even at the top level. We're now going to finally move on from neice and look at this example, which occurred in a game played between two very strong experts, Christopher Sykes and Ari Sink. It's Ari's turn in this position, and he's got the dreaded UW combo on his rack, which he'd really love to get rid of, and he does just that, playing the word outwin from this O in Dooley, scoring 18 points and keeping the nice ER leave. So this at first looks like a very strong play, but the problem is outwin is actually not a word. It is a valid word in the International Collins Dictionary, however it is not valid in the American Dictionary, which this game used and all of the other games in this video used. So very creative phony by Ari here, and it does get by his opponent Christopher. However, later on in this game, Christopher would actually put an S on outwin to make outwins, playing the word sky there for 30 points. And Ari, unaware that the play of outwin that he initially made was phony, would let this stay on the board, and it turned out to be a game-losing mistake. Ironically, Ari, who initially phonied with outwin, later on accepted outwins and would go on to lose the game. Christopher would go on to win this game. So I guess you could say that despite playing outwin, Ari got outwon. Now we're going to move on to another example featuring, once again, Josh Sokol. Josh Sokol started off this video very strong by challenging off the phony of neice, spelled N-E-I-C-E, so let's see what he does here. He's in a completely winning position, of course. He's up 140 points in the endgame, so regardless of what Josh does, he's not going to be losing this game. And Josh decides to unload a bunch of his tiles by playing none other than outwin. And as Josh explains, kind of like Ari in the previous example, Josh actually thought this was a word, and he plays outwin for 25 points, not at all intending to phony, and it does indeed get by his opponent, so now, for the second time in a row, we see outwin stay on a board. Pretty crazy. But it gets even wilder. Here we once again have Josh Sokol, and this time he's playing against top player Jackson Smiley, who's been featured in several of my other videos. Josh has opened the game with the word dollar, and Jackson responds with, you guessed it, outwin, scoring 18 points. And Josh accepts? Wait a minute. Didn't we just see Josh play outwin as a phony and then realize after it wasn't good? So why on earth would Josh accept here? What's going on? Well, it turns out that Josh intentionally accepted this play as it gave him a bingo of tapadera from this T for 65 points. And you'll notice that without this T, Josh's rack is pretty lousy. He's got 3 A's on his rack. So if we go back, if Josh challenges outwin off the board, he's going to have that same rack, AAADEPR, on this board with only dollar in play. And his best play is probably going to be something like paraded for 22 points. Nothing particularly exciting. So he's much better off letting Jackson get his 18 points and taking his 65-point bingo. So actually a brilliant strategical decision by Josh here to let outwin stay on the board. Now, in our next example, we once again have 2 players we've seen before in these phony videos. We have Steven Sneed and Joey Kravchik. And in this position, Steven's in some trouble. He's down 60 points. He's got UW on his rack, which, as we discussed before, is a very problematic 2-tile combination. And he decides to shed them both at once with outwin. So that is now the 4th time we've seen outwin stay on a board, as Joey would not only accept outwin, but immediately pluralize it himself with temps and outwins for 28 points. And Steven would let this stay on the board. So we have Steven playing outwin, Joey accepting, Joey playing outwins, and Steven accepting. So another wild sequence of events surrounding the word outwin. And now we have our final example from this video. Again, 2 players who have appeared in my videos before, Morris Greenberg and Cesar del Solar. It's Cesar's turn, and he's already in a pretty good position. He's up 40 points or so. He's got the blank on his rack, and he decides to get rid of some of his problematic tiles, specifically the W and the U and both of his O's, with not outwin, but outwon through the T. So, slightly different, but pretty much the same root word, and we are going to count that as the 5th time, guys. That is now 5 times that a strong Scrabble expert has played and gotten away with outwin or a variant of outwin. And Cesar, as we discussed earlier, points out that this is valid in Collins, and he had a feeling it might not be valid in the American Dictionary, but he figured if he was thinking about playing outwin, he might as well just play outwon, because outwon is better for his rack. Generally, the I is better than the O, and outwin actually takes a D, because outwind is valid, so outwon is a, ironically, more defensive play. Even though outwin and outwon are both phonies, outwon is a more defensive phony, as bizarre as that sounds. So that is part of why Cesar presumably decided to play outwon here, and he got away with it. And he would go on to emerge victorious in this game by a large margin. So, indeed, Cesar successfully outwon his opponent. And there you have it, guys. That is the last example in this video. So, here, there was sort of a tale of 2 sagas, the neice saga and the outwin saga. So, a little bit of a different style than some of my past phony videos, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. And as I mentioned earlier, I hope, if nothing else, seeing the same words stay on the board so many times in games featuring two very strong Scrabble players. I hope if nothing else, that makes you all feel a little bit better about maybe some of the words that you've played that you thought were valid that weren't, or some of the invalid plays your opponents have played that you've let stay on the board. It really does happen to the best of us. I know I've been saying that all along, and I hope if nothing else, this video and these examples can help convince you of that. You just never know what you're going to see. It doesn't matter if you're looking at a board played between two newer players or between two top experts. You just never know what you're going to see, and that's part of why I think Scrabble is so great and so exciting. You see something new every day, and it's always super unpredictable. So there you have it, guys. That's it for this video. Thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you all soon for the next edition of Phonies.